Keith Livingston here from Healthy Intelligent Training, or Lydiard Foundation. I'm going to talk about the fast twitch fibres today. There are two types of fast twitch fibres, and they're completely different. The first of the main two fast twitch muscle fibre types I want to talk about is the type IIB fast twitch. This is a very, very, very powerful muscle fibre type. You can train it with heavy resistance training or weights, and you can train it by very fast explosive sprints. You can train it by plyometrically bouncing on your feet. If you're talking about running muscles, you can train it by ballistic exercise, which is things like depth jumps. This is anaerobic, and this one is anaerobic. The type IIA fast twitch is anaerobic, but it also has a capacity to be trained aerobically and develop capillaries deep in and around it. And it can also acquire mitochondria, which can produce energy aerobically. So it's capable of breaking down glucose or lactate, which is derived from glucose, at very fast rates in the presence of oxygen, which is called glycolysis. The breakdown of glucose or glucose-related products rapidly is called glycolysis. So you can have very high aerobic intensity glycolysis, and then you have anaerobic glycolysis. The main difference is that aerobic glycolysis can produce a lot more ATP or energy per unit of glucose than anaerobic glycolysis. So there's a huge difference in the amount of energy that's able to be produced from a net amount of fuel. But they're both anaerobic. One uses lactate, or is lactate anaerobic, and one is only uses non-lactate fuels or non-carbohydrate fuels, really. And that's the massive one on the left there. That's the type IIB fast twitch. So it's alactic anaerobic. It doesn't create any acid. It just creates energy, bang, with a phosphorus-related compound called creatine phosphate. So phosphate is one of the main compounds in adenosine triphosphate, ATP. So in terms of energy fuels, the one on the left just uses that, and the one on the right uses carbohydrate-based fuels. Okay. Here is a diagram that shows you the main time frames that these energy systems peak at. So you see on the left there, in the yellow, orange, that's the ATP phosphocreatine system with the type IIB muscle fiber types. It peaks in about 5 seconds and rapidly diminishes in power output, but can continue to produce some power for up to 20 plus seconds. Okay. Soon after that peaks, let's say in a 100-meter sprint, the athlete's at about the 40-meter mark. There'll be a smooth transition or downgrading through the gears to recruit the next muscle fiber types. They're the 2A. Now, the 2A muscle fiber types are enormously powerful, but not nearly as powerful as the type IIB. Huge in population across the muscle fiber in very good 400-meter, 800-meter runners. So they've got lots of 2A capability. If you talk about a pool of muscle fibers, they've got lots of those. And the main fuel for the 2A is lactate and glucose. So in the breakdown of carbohydrates, they break down rapidly into glucose, which is 6 carbon molecules. And in turn, it seems to be that glucose breaks down further into 3 carbon molecules, which are lactate. And that's the main fuel for that system there. This just gives you a summary of the main fuels of these muscle fibers. You see the 2B uses intramuscular creatine phosphate. The nickname for that is the self-priming phosphate battery. So what happens is if you run fast and hard for 5 seconds, you'll peak your power output with the creatine phosphate, and then it'll plummet quite rapidly downwards and be almost completely spent by the time you've gone. Maybe by the end of a 200 meters, your stores of this super powerful fuel are just spent. But there's a proviso in the fast twitch type 2B muscle fiber type physiology that it can rapidly restore or replenish its supplies of this fuel by rephosphorylation in the presence of oxygen. So this is why a 100-meter sprinter, although her or his event is not aerobic or requiring oxygen, this is why they breathe in lots of oxygen straight after an event. They need that oxygen to complete the rephosphorylation of the creatine phosphate molecule. So that is an amino acid called creatine attached to a phosphate group. Super powerful fuel, alactic anaerobic. The type 2A muscle fiber type goes for longer distances, slightly less power. In a 100-meter sprint, there's a seamless changeover or changing down of the gears from the super powerful 2B. There's a handover to the less powerful type 2A. It's seamless because of the amazing integration of the neuromuscular recruitment from the brain. But anyway, you're just switching fuel sources. It's like driving your car and switching from petrol to gas or LPG gas. You just flick a switch and you're using a different fuel system. With training the type 2B, there is no particular downside, which is why you can actually train your sprint fibers right throughout an aerobic base. This will explain the differences in the muscle fiber types. Now, this represents the Lydiard training pyramid in the lead up through each season to a seasonal peak. This would be a middle distance event requiring fast twitch muscle fibers of both types and considerable endurance from the slow twitch fibers. So essentially, all training leading to a Lydiard peak ends up being a war between only 2 muscle fiber types and 2 completely opposite acid-alkali systems. So the safest by far to train with in terms of injury prevention, prevention of illness, immune function high, is training the slow twitch type 1 muscle fiber. This is aerobic training, reasonably low heart rate, predominantly comfortable. The main training sessions each week as we go through the cycles are aerobic, below a heart rate of about 70% of your maximal heart rate reserve for the most part, until you start to get up to the level near the top here, where the average intensity of the main sessions, we're not talking about every session of the week, obviously. We're talking, these just represent the intensity of the main sessions, and that might be a Tuesday, a tough session on a Tuesday, going through early season track races or whatever you're aiming for. The intensity of the main sessions will increase, but as the intensity increases and the speed and the requirements of the body to really perform at maximum, you're also producing maximum amounts of acid with the fast twitch type 2A muscle fibers. And you'll notice that of the 3 muscle fiber types, one is not there. It's not even involved. And now there's a reason for that. It's because it only gets involved at maximum output. So as you go through a season, you'll notice that this represents the intensity and volume of the main sessions. As you do harder and faster workouts, the volume of the sessions represented by the cross-section of the pyramid here gets less and less. And then when you're nearing your absolute peak, you tend to drop off your recovery running. But this represents the volume of recovery running. And as you get more and more intense, representing going from the aerobic green to the very anaerobic red, yes, acid red, recovery requirements become more and more and less intense. So basically, the harder you go, the more easy, slow, opposite type of recovery you need. So if you're recovering really well from high intensity work up here, you need lots and lots and lots of slow twitch aerobic running to ensure that you get the acid dissipated back into the bloodstream, back to the liver to be rebadged, recirculated in the form of glucose or glycogen. Okay, hope you enjoyed that. If you have any further questions, get in contact with me and I'll see if I can answer them for you. Okay, see ya.